When can we expect to get an update on whether they're going to proceed with indicting or what's the next step? Hello and welcome back to Lawyer Interviews. You got your host here, Jeff Dillon, and with us again, we have Tamar Arminak. Tamar, thanks for coming back.
Hey, Jeff.
It's
Good to
good
be
to
back.
see you. Got a new background.
Yeah,
Looks fun.
good.
Uh,
This is my actual office here.
wow. Okay.
Yeah, yeah.
Cool views.
Nice.
Impressive stuff. And we've been discussing the Diddy case. There's been more updates to the case since we've last spoke. Things have now moved to the criminal side, and we've got the federal government involved.
Yes.
How would you describe the latest update to Diddy?
Well, we're hearing that the prosecution is bringing in witnesses to talk to the grand jury. The government, rather, is bringing in people to talk to the grand jury, witnesses to likely give testimony. So, when this kind of stuff happens, it's only a matter of time until there's some sort of indictment or not. But usually, as we last spoke, the government does not move unless it knows that it has enough to indict and convince a grand jury. So it's looking like it's getting in that direction.
And is this connected? I remember back in March, there was raids on Diddy's house. Is this connected to those raids?
I would think it's absolutely connected to those raids. I even imagine that the grand jury is hearing about evidence that that the government received as a result of the raids. Um, we will see, because once the indictment comes through, the case will progress. So we'll find out exactly what they found in the raids. But it's incredibly connected, as are the lawsuits. The people that have filed lawsuits, I imagine some of them are being brought in as witnesses to testify in front of the grand jury to build a case to prosecute P. Diddy. Yes.
How does this impact those civil cases that are ongoing?
Well, it's interesting. They are on separate tracks. So a civil case is very different than a criminal case. The standard of proof is very different in a civil
Mm-hmm.
case. It's not beyond a reasonable doubt. So it is very different. But I will say there's some very unique thing that happens when a civil defendant is prosecuted in a criminal setting for the crimes that are involved in the civil case, or
Okay.
substantially similar crimes. The Fifth Amendment is something that our justice system takes seriously, and
Mm-hmm.
that's something that P. Diddy, just like any other defendant, would have the right to assert, the Fifth Amendment. And what that would do most likely is cause the civil cases to be stayed. So our system does not compel, and is not supposed to compel, a criminal defendant to testify against themselves.
Right.
And that doesn't mean just in the criminal trial or the criminal context. If there's an ongoing civil case where they might have to give a deposition or take the stand and respond to questioning and incriminate themselves, our system does not allow for that. Our system says that the Fifth Amendment is one of the most paramount rights,
Mm.
and would pause these civil cases, would stay them, in fact, until his criminal proceedings are over and he's no longer in jeopardy, essentially.
Right. Okay. And this is the famous "I plead the fifth" thing that
Yes,
people use in everyday language,
that's
and
right.
it's a good point. So, if I'm a civil litigant here, and this is happening, I'm sure I'm happy to see Diddy getting justice
Yeah.
towards him. But am I being, harmed in any way that I'm not going to get my damages and anything? Is there a negative impact here?
I would think that the civil litigants are going to be, at least their attorneys are going to be a little worried that their cases are not going to be settled anytime soon
Hmm.
if a criminal indictment comes forward. And they're certainly not going to be litigated, because why would P. Diddy want to litigate these cases?
Right.
Why would he want more information coming out? Why would he want to spend money on civil attorneys, really, when all of his efforts should be going towards defending himself in the criminal realm?
Hmm. It's interesting, this new dynamic. So is Diddy
Yes.
going to have different lawyers, or does he have the same?
Well, usually civil lawyers don't try criminal cases.
Okay.
And looking at P. Diddy's roster of very, very impressive attorneys, both West Coast and East Coast,
Mm-hmm.
I would think that he would have very separate civil attorneys in likely the same firm that his criminal defense attorneys are in. I know these firms pretty well, and they have both civil and criminal departments, and they are excellent, excellent attorneys.
Great. Okay. I'm sure it's I wonder if this will become like a new celebrity outing for these attorneys, the way we've seen for the Johnny Depp Amber Heard case.
It could be, but at the end of the day, when we watched and we heard about the details of that case and we saw it play out, and we know some of the details and we've seen the video
Mm-hmm.
of Cassie in the hotel. Somehow I think that we're not going to have the same type of memes and the same type of feeling walking away from these cases.
Well, that's for certainly going to be true. Yes.
Yeah.
Well, when can we expect to get an update on whether they're going to proceed with indicting, or what's the next step?
Well, the grand jury process is cloaked in secrecy,
Mm-hmm.
or at least it's supposed to be. And I think that just by virtue of this leaking out, they're already probably well into what they're doing there with the grand jury proceeding. I would think sometime this summer there would be an indictment. But my feeling would be just sort of looking at it from afar. And if I was P. Diddy's attorney and seeing, kind of reading the tea leaves and seeing where it would go, I would be, and I wouldn't doubt that that's what his attorneys are doing now, very proactive with the government, always in communication with the government. Can we come in for a proffer? Should we discuss? What do you have? Nothing good is going to come from P. Diddy being indicted, P. Diddy standing trial, those details coming out. I would think that communications would be a good thing, especially if part of the search warrant involved P. Diddy's children or his staff or others around him. We know from many recent cases that when you have co-defendants, kind of like domino effect, the people around you start taking plea deals and testifying against you. I would think that there's a lot of discussion going on between his attorneys and the government right now about how best to resolve this quickly, quietly, if that's even possible.
Yeah, what would a quiet resolution be where P. Diddy he would plead guilty and then get a good deal, or presumably?
Yeah, get a good deal, but it becomes increasingly difficult when the government goes in with such force and there is already such public evidence, what we believe to be evidence out there from these civil cases, from just people talking in general about parties and things they've witnessed. It's very difficult to allow a celebrity like P. Diddy to walk away with a slap on the wrist. And the flip side of that is it's a very difficult thing as an attorney to go to a client like P. Diddy and say, you might have to serve time. You might have to admit certain things. You might have to take a guilty plea. It's almost impossible. It's almost impossible because there's no recovery from that.
Mm-hmm.
So a lot of times celebrity clients will say, well, I'll roll the dice. And if I'm exonerated, then great. My star will continue to rise. I don't know if a deal can be had in a situation like this because it is so public.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, it's very interesting. We're going to keep monitoring it, and we will definitely bring you back if there is another update. So thank you so much, Tamar.
Thank you, Jeff. Talk to you soon.